Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Trump Tyranny Tracker. Back after a little break. It's Tuesday, July 1st, Canada Day. Hello, again, happy Canada Day. With
Happy
Olga
Canada
Lautman.
Day.
Olga Lautman is here, and it's so good to see you. How was your weekend, Olga? I missed you.
I missed you too. I finally took the time to catch up on a lot of backlog. So it
It
was
was
good.
busy. It was a good few days to have off for various reasons. It's day 162 of the Trump administration. We're tracking so much that's going on right now, as we already have 100 people joining us. Um, the big news that's happening right now is the news around the big, beautiful bill, or so it's called. It's just passed the Senate. JD Vance uh, casting the winning, or that's called a winning vote, but the vote that actually approved the bill. It was 50-50 otherwise. And it's a $5 trillion package that extends Trump's tax cuts, slashes Medicaid and SNAP benefits, and pumps massive funding into border security and military spending. This is really the nightmare bill that everyone has been talking about, but particularly around the stuff you've been talking around about the establishment of a secret police state.
Yeah, and I mean, look, this bill is going to hurt a lot of Americans. Interestingly enough, it's really going to go after Trump's base, particularly that a lot of them do receive Medicaid and also the hospitals, you're going to have a big impact on hospitals shutting down and whatnot. So, I mean, this is a nightmare bill. It's also, I'm sure, going to, cause instability in the stock markets and in our rating because now we're adding several more $1 trillion onto our debt. Um, so the whole thing is, I mean, we've talked about it, we've covered different aspects. To me, the most fascinating aspect, frankly, is not the bill, but the fight between Elon and Trump. And the fact we saw him, touch onto it last time they had a fight. But the fact, I am no fan of Elon. Frankly, he's the reason we're in this mess. But the fact that Trump immediately threatened to strip contracts, floated that he needs to go to South Africa, which we're going to talk about in a bit, with what the Department of Justice is doing. I mean, this takes me back to Russia. How many times I've seen, anyone falling out of favor with Putin, they end up either dead in exile or jailed with
Yeah.
all their assets seized. So to me, I think that is the most fascinating aspect of this because, I mean, to publicly make threats, to cancel contracts, to float, and his base is floating now, to have his citizenship revoked, even though, potentially he came here illegally and obtained it under fraudulent reasons. And I could well see Trump, nationalizing Starlink and basically stealing all his companies.
I mean, he threatened, as well. Musk threatened the establishment of a new party, he wanted to call the America Party, to run against the GOP. He's obviously irked the president a lot, and it's interesting that Rand Paul and Ron Johnson were the other, or was it Tom Tillis? Sorry, who are the holdouts. Also, they're close to Russia as well. It's interesting that he's making these threats against a company that is one of America's darling companies, that is part of the big military industrial complex that has made America so powerful. It's kind of amazing that he's making these threats, and I read into that a deportation threat. I mean, I'm sure you do too. It's not just
When I
saying,
saw South Africa,
yeah,
I was like, "Oop, he better start packing his bags. He's
right.
not going to be one of the refugees, from the fake genocide happening coming in here. He'll be thrown out the other way, or potentially end up in the alligator Alcatraz internment camp, one or the other." So
It could
that's
be.
how
I
I
mean,
saw it.
certainly the fall from grace, as you point out, of Russian oligarchs is often that. I mean, they go from being amongst the world's richest people to, falling out of windows or just disappearing. So anything could
Yeah,
happen. Now,
hanging themselves.
yeah. Now, this bill isn't a done deal yet. It still gets to go through the House of Representatives, and that's going to be a difficult path. There are a lot of people in the House that are not in favor of the huge tax cuts and the deep spending reductions, plus also the massive increase in the debt of the country, up to $5 trillion by some estimates. It may not pass the House, so it's still not there yet. but it likely will be.
It'll pass in some form or another. I'm sure we're gonna see, this circus for a while. I mean, at the end of the day, Americans better expect that prices will go up, and they are already going up. Their hospitals will close. They're going to lose a lot of safety net programs. I mean, this is basically what the bill does. It delivers it's the biggest transfer of wealth, frankly, that I've ever seen, taking away from the vulnerable, the poor, the disabled, the elderly, the children, and handing it off, to the rich who aren't even going to notice this. I mean, do you think a rich person, who's a millionaire, multimillionaire, notices if they got an extra 60,000 in their taxes? Their accountant does the taxes. They don't even look at their taxes. So you're basically taking away, all the safety net programs, and you're just going to cause a lot of poverty and pain and death in this country.
Which really is the point, to disenfranchise and hurt as many people as possible while creating this oligarchy that they're developing. Let's move on to the other stories in the Trump tyranny tracker today. The Department of Justice announced plans to prioritize cases aimed at revoking U.S. citizenship from naturalized Americans. Under new guidance issued on June 11th, the criteria now includes a wide range of offenses, and federal prosecutors can use civil cases that bypass public defenders and weaken due process protections. This represents a dramatic expansion of denaturalization efforts targeting millions of Americans who were born abroad but became citizens. That's unbelievable. That does no longer mean that you stay in the United States if you're a citizen. You could be subject to
Right
deportation.
here. We might be taping this somewhere else in
Here
another
comes Canada.
country if I don't end up in Alcatraz, alligator freaking concentration camp. Yeah, no, this, frankly, again, this is something I have been warning since they started going after international students and finding ways to strip visas using like these old laws on the books that haven't been used in centuries, to take away visas, to take away green cards. And now, look, I mean, they're that saying they came for this one and we didn't pay attention and ignored it. Then they came for this one and then they came for all of us. It's frankly playing out because for people who don't care what is happening to undocumented immigrants, and are like, well, that's not my problem. Well, guess what? Then they start going after green card holders, which we've seen already happen. For people who are like, well, I don't care about green card holders, that's not my problem either. Now they are going after naturalized citizens. Frankly, I don't know that many people who are born Americans. I mean, most people that I know are, their children are first generation Americans. So this puts probably half of the country at risk of deportation. And then with the AI, they can easily sift through lists, see who is ahead, come up with sham, criminal charges, which could be anything from, speaking out against the state. And then that's it. And then process and get rid of us. So, I mean, this is one of the nightmare scenarios I was warning about. And sure enough, I mean, it took, 3 months, 3.5 months, for it to now start going into play, where they're using, nonetheless, the civil rights task force that they dismantled and redirected, to, prioritize stripping Americans of naturalized citizenship.
It's unbelievable. It's so sad.
I mean, I really, I don't know anyone who, that many people who were born here. Everyone, I mean, if it doesn't affect, if they were born here, it affects their parents.
Yeah.
And they can threaten you via the parents, and say, we're removing them from this
And
country.
you and you can bet this is not going to be used against people in red states. It's going to be used against people in blue states that are, might be critical of the government or might be operating in ways that are, anti-GOP or anti-Trump. That's what it's going to be used for. It's not going to be used indiscriminately against all citizens. It's going to be used against
No.
specific targeted citizens that they have a problem with, and they'll just strip those rights away. It's really sad.
And going back to Elon Musk, I mean, here we are, this is on the table of stripping naturalized citizenship from people. And here you have Trump, basically floating that, that he he could pack up basically and go to South Africa. So you could see where this is going.
Yeah,
And
and
so this
this is
could level again,
authoritarianism.
Julie. All three of us are
Yeah.
naturalized. Julie was born in Moscow, Levin, I believe Odessa, and I wasn't born here. So
Yeah, I mean, this is what authoritarianism looks like. This is when a dictator does not like a certain person. He'll come up with a reason. He'll make up a reason to use the law against them and can just deport them, do any number of things to them. This is why America is slipping into such a crisis stage right now. This is really a 5 alarm fire going on in the United States right now. And thanks, Kat, for posting that 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 thing that you were referring to, Olga, about when they came for me. She posted the full thing in the messages so
oh
people can read
yeah.
it. Yeah,
No, this is exactly it. And like I said, this is extremely troubling. And then for people who are like, wow, I was born here, I frankly don't care about naturalized citizens. Guess what? You're gonna be next. So
yeah.
so it definitely, until everybody is subservient to, the orange dictator, they'll continue going down this line of repressive policies.
And connected to that story is this story. The Trump officials have created a searchable national citizenship database by merging immigration, social security, and other federal data into a centralized system developed by the Department of Homeland Security and unauthorized by Doge. It's being marketed as a voter fraud prevention tool, but the system allows instant checks of citizenship status. Created without public input, it's already facing lawsuits over privacy violations. This is the stuff I've been reporting on about the surveillance state. This is happening right now. They're creating a database, a list of everybody that'll be able to be parsed in many ways by artificial intelligence.
Yeah, and sorry, I put unauthorized because it's just part of like one of my habits. Anytime I mention Doge, I have to put
Oh, the
unauthorized
unauthorized
fake.
Doge. Okay.
Uh,
I was like, what does he mean?
Unauthorized because this is a fake agency. No one authorized it. Congress never held hearings on it. It is literally a fake agency spun out of nothing. It's not Department of Homeland Security that had congressional
Yeah.
he called approval and oversight and creation. It's not a real institution or agency. This is frankly a freaking banana republic thing that they decided to install a bunch of unvetted, shady hackers and operatives into every single agency that is authorized to steal data and to, basically enforce loyalty and obedience within those agencies. But this again is dangerous because here we are. They are using everything. Last week when we did this, they were demanding databases from states on SNAP, on various Medicare, Medicaid, and DMV and various you know state databases. There's a reason these databases are all separated within the federal agency, and the only time that they get moved is if there's one particular case where law enforcement is working on it and they need the cooperation of the state and then maybe other federal agencies to build their investigation. Other than that, this is a surveillance state. We're watching it being built. And I
It
mean,
is built. It's functioning right now. We're actually seeing this is a functioning surveillance state where the government has complete control over everything that you do and can see everything that you're doing at all times. They can see where you are right now. They can identify probably what you're
they
doing
can
right
watch
now.
us right now.
Yeah. By using facial recognition, if you're out in public, they can see what you're doing. They can certainly identify absolutely every bit of data the government on a state level and on a federal level has ever collected on you. That can include your biometrics. It can include your past indiscretions that might have got you in front of a court somewhere along the way. It can include your tax spending and whether you've cheated on your tax bills in the past. And maybe your voting records, potentially your voting records. So,
Well, this is for voting
yeah,
purposes. They're
yeah,
collecting this
yeah.
data, so.
And they'll intimidate people to vote certain ways, and they'll be, gerrymandering districts to make sure that they vote certain ways. This is really a death knell for democracy, and this is a functioning surveillance state. It's already here.
And Carolyn just made a comment about the, KKK state cleansing. Well, we already covered that part too, because the State Department, the one that we're all paying for, it has created a re-immigration office, which is frankly a Nazi far right ideology of cleansing the state of others, and leaving it to a white ethno state. So, I mean, we already have the KKK cleansing in action also.
Wait, in other news, two more deaths in ICE custody. A 75-year-old Cuban man and a Canadian bring the 2025 detention death toll to 13, putting the U.S. on track for one of its deadliest years in immigration detention. The system is operating at 140% capacity with over 56,000 detainees in overcrowded, unsafe facilities. This represents systematic neglect and a human rights crisis unfolding in real time. America is really showing itself here as being a inhumane country.
First of all, I really hope that once this is said and done, or at least in the process, someone overseas is collecting all these human rights violations. Because frankly, everyone from the propagandists who are pushing for this cleansing and for these human rights violations to this, they need to be held accountable. And I mean, why are people dying in ICE? Why do we have 13 deaths in ICE? Now they're building open this Alcatraz. This is a concentration camp. I cannot believe I've been bouncing since last week off the walls. I cannot believe people are silent about this. And there's no more noise about this. We have an internment camp. I mean, can you imagine? Americans will have this on their hands. We are going to put 5,000 people, according to NPR and other um, organizations. They said that it's 100+ degree temperature with no cooling system.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
People
you
living in
have
tents.
people, we have exactly, and no cooling. We have people right now overcrowded in facilities across the country. A woman had her stomach shackled, a pregnant woman, asked for medical services and was denied and ended up delivering a stillborn, which is not counted part of this 13 by, the people who are pro-life. And I mean, what we're doing right now is unbelievable. There are so many human rights violations. I mean, between the deaths happening in ICE, between ICE and federal agents. I mean, I don't know if you saw this. They used explosives to get into someone's house. It was a U.S. citizen in California with her children. And they rammed the house, the front doors. They used explosives to get into this. And I believe it's Huntington Beach. I mean, since when do we have
Why?
federal agents? Because her boyfriend allegedly hit an ICE car during a protest a few weeks prior.
Oh my
This is
gosh.
why he wasn't even home, for starters. This is
But
why
why
you
they're
use.
arresting people for ICE violations based on hitting a car a few weeks ago? That's unrelated to the fact that they're here illegally.
Yeah, yeah. And that's why they came to the house. He wasn't there. The wife or girlfriend, whoever, who's a U.S. citizen with her children are there. Can you imagine if I'm at home with my children and I have freaking explosive, going off and people battering down my door? Nonetheless, they're masked and we don't even know who they are. And just to vent off on this, we've been carrying on about this mask thing. Now there are incidents popping up across the country of people who are putting on masks and then raping people and robbing people. So I mean, we really are in such a freaking lawless situation because this is not how America is supposed to work. There are laws, there are procedures, there are rules. And the fact that you have unmasked men running around grabbing people. I said it myself. I'll say it again. If any men ever approach me with a mask and no identification, I will scream rape and I will freaking throw anything and everything at
Of
them and
course.
try to get away. Because I mean, this is what we're taught to do. If people approach you, men approach you, you're supposed to run and get help. And here, the state is, authorizing the use of this and having people run around. I mean, honestly, I'm so agitated because I've documented human rights, crimes, violations, crimes of aggression in Russia, what the Russians are doing in Ukraine, and now I'm seeing it here. And this is like we're going to another level. We
Yeah.
should not have people dying. I remember, screaming when someone died in a Russian detention center and saying, "Look at this lawless country." How can I say this anymore when we're killing people in detention centers?
America has really entered a whole new phase. It is really now an authoritarian country, and it's got the worst autocratic tendencies that you see in authoritarian
And no
countries.
one's
This is,
speaking out.
well, because they're
Europe is
terrified. I mean,
silent. UN is silent. Where is everyone? Like,
it's
where are
true.
all the human rights organizations and institutions global who monitor human rights violations? I
We
mean,
really have reached a time where you would think that sanctions against at least the government officials and the people involved in committing these crimes will be instituted by foreign governments. But I guess the world is too scared to even do that now because they don't want to agitate Trump too much because, they're building up towards a war. They have got the weaponry and everything else that they need to defend against him. But, we need to start hearing that from countries. Some countries need to be speaking out. And certainly there should be calls to sanction these particular people. I mean, at least if we don't sanction the entire country, the Department of Homeland Security secretary can be sanctioned. The people responsible for running these camps. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, and we should, it's just appalling.
and just to add one more, there was a video that was sent to me, and I really, I could have like strangled these people through the phone.
Mm.
Hopefully, we'll have this technology one day. These ICE people went to an Iranian neighborhood, or church, and they start, arrest the husband, detain him, and start going after the woman. These are refugees. Imagine having you escape the Iranian regime that tortures you and beats you to have a bunch of mass thugs standing over you. The poor thing went into literally seizures. She fell to the ground and you saw her convulsing. I mean, what are we doing?
It's
What are we
horrific.
doing?
It's horrific. We really need to see the world start speaking out, and the human rights organizations in your part of the world, if you're not from America, reach out to them and ask them what they are doing to help promote human rights back in the United States, because this is appalling stuff. But you've been talking about it for months. You predicted this was going to happen. You predicted the suffering. It's here now. In many ways, it will, at least accelerate some of the protests, maybe. But it's just unbelievable to think that America, of all countries, has so quickly turned into this kind of country, so lawless, autocratic country, and yet here we are. Finally, we turn to corruption at the highest levels. The Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem secretly funneled $80,000 to herself through her Delaware LLC from a dark money group backing her political career. She took a 10% fundraising fee on the $800,000 that she raised, income she failed to disclose on federal ethics forms after becoming Trump's DHS secretary. It's a clear violation of transparency requirements, although it's no surprise she's violating those regulations.
Before I touch that, don't kill me, but just to get back to the other point.
Yeah, sure.
That another story that I attached to this whole ICE thing. At the same time, now DHS has put out regulations that Congress congressional members have to notify them 1 week before they visit an ICE detention
Wow.
center. First, it was 72 hours, now 1 week. So now not only are they killing people and creating the worst violations, they're not even allowing congressional members to do their legally bound oversight duties to visit these detention centers.
So there should be
Yeah,
congressional visits scheduled every day. Then they should right now start saying Next week, Monday, this group of people are coming. Next week,
Yeah,
Tuesday, these people are coming. They should
but
be.
they could deny them. They
Oh,
could
they can't
deny
deny
them.
them. Well,
Yeah.
how can they deny that? Just because?
Well, they said that they can deny it, and Debbie just said 72 hours. It was
Yeah.
yesterday.
Right.
Now they came out with a new rule that's 1 week and potential denials. So, just to tap onto that, as they're killing people and people are dying in ICE custody, our congressional members cannot freely go and exercise their oversight
So this is
duty.
really a constitutional crisis. I mean, they have the right and duty to oversee these
Their
facilities,
job.
and they're being denied that. That is a definition of a constitutional crisis.
Yep. And now to know, I mean, what do we expect? Some dark group who we don't know who it is, funneled money to her to an LLC. I mean, what is she was what, South Dakota governor? What is she doing with a company in Delaware to
Right.
evade, like what is she doing? I mean, we know who uses companies in Delaware, opens companies in Delaware's, and the fact that this group who was, supporting her decide to move money to her company in Delaware. We don't know who the people behind the group is. We don't know where this money came from. And then they moved it to her, and she is now in charge of our homeland security, which again, this is what killed me. Frankly, I said this in, 18, and we need to do this. Stop paying taxes. Like, I don't feel comfortable paying for internment camps for any of these human rights violations. Like, I don't want one penny of mine contributing to this. But here, she is Department of Homeland Security, and she failed to disclose this money that came. Where did this money come from? What did she do for this money? What did she promise for this money? We'll never know.
He has a
and
woman who
and
travels around with $3,000 cash in her bag everywhere she goes. I mean,
or a
it's
$50,000 watch.
yeah. So and that's she's got quite a lifestyle considering her government service career that she's had,
Can
and
you
she doesn't really
imagine?
pay that
Hmm.
much. Your point about taxes is so valid. I'm sure everyone feels the same way. Why pay taxes in an environment where taxes are being used for these illegal activities? And a lot of people have been talking about a general strike, and we're sort of nearing the point where really cutting off the economic means of this administration to do the work that they're doing right now, which is against the law and anti-human rights and anti-humanity, is really the course to go.
Yeah, in 2018, after, these type of horror stories that were happening, I at the time said that Americans, normal Americans, need to put together a class action suit, and that's it, and stop paying. I rather redirect taxes to my state than pay the federal government, because frankly, you know what? It's against my religious beliefs. My religion doesn't allow me, to support financially or any other means, building internment camps on American soil, or torturing and killing off migrants, in detention centers. I mean, this is not something that, uh, it should be. So I think this is something, one route that we should go. Interestingly enough, the states finally got some balls, and apparently are now this happened over the weekend. Are basically several states are withholding federal, threatening to withhold federal taxes if the government cuts off their services. So, I mean, maybe we can all join with the states and say, you know what? Because it's not in anyone's conscience, to pay for this. If MAGA loves this brutal human rights shit show of us, Laura Loomer yesterday. Oh yes, feed these people to the alligators. I mean, can you
So
imagine
gross.
how sick? I mean, this is what happened in Rwanda. And by the way, in Rwanda, the propagandists were prosecuted. In Russia, eventually one day, for the war crimes and genocide being committed, the propagandists will be prosecuted in Russia who have laid the groundwork for this crimes happening. Here, we should have the same exact thing, because I mean, how do you advocate for torture and death and the killing off of people? I
People
mean,
should send their federal taxes to the state governments instead of
absolutely.
instead
I'll
of
feed
finding the
my
Federal
state. I'll
Reserves. Yeah,
triple my state taxes.
exactly.
and
Wow,
give
what
them.
what a roundup today on the Trump tyranny tracker. We've had reports about people having their citizenship stripped away. We've had a surveillance state that's being built. We've got a database now that's monitoring citizens. You got people blocking oversight from congressional representation. I mean, it's just it goes on and on and on. And in these deadly detention conditions, it's just here we are in the worst case scenario, the authoritarian state, and it leads into tonight's session, which at 8 o'clock we're doing Authoritarianism 101. This is our fifth seminar, and looking forward to our paid subscribers joining us tonight. It starts at 8 p.m. What do we have in store tonight?
Eastern time.
Eastern time.
Tonight we will be talking about basically pretty much what we just talked about. Tonight we'll be talking about the tactic of capturing institutions and also capturing law enforcement and military and then turning it against the people. So that will be the tactic, I believe, 5 and 6 tonight
Yeah.
that we'll be focused on.
These sessions are great, and we get to hear from everybody, which is great. They happen on a Google Meet, and people get to share their views and express their concerns and fears and everything else that's going on, observations about where we are in America today. If you'd like to join us tonight, it's absolutely we'll welcome you. You have to be a paid subscriber to either Trump Tyranny Tracker or Unmasking Russia or narrative.org, NARATIV.org. But other than being a paid subscriber, you're welcome to join. There's no other requirement to join, and no other fee. And it doesn't matter that you've missed the first four; you'll still get access to the slides later on. And it's just it's an important conversation to have, and important tools for tracking whether we're entering an authoritarian state and the tools to combat it. So I hope you'll join us all at 8 o'clock tonight.
And the link can be found, the registration link, either by visiting narrative.org or I have it on my timeline on Substack. I've refreshed it and put a reminder for it, and that has the registration link. And then please, the cutoff is at 7, please, because people join up to 8:05.
Yeah.
And by 8 o'clock, I'm already on the Google Meet, and you are on the Google Meet. And for anyone who missed any prior, every week I started making a habit of sending all the slides from the first session we did to, we'll cover. That way everyone can have the whole compilation in one email, and that's it. So.
Look forward to seeing you all tonight. Look forward to seeing you, Olga. And thanks for being here on the Trump Tyranny Tracker. Thank you at home for watching. And we'll be back tomorrow at the same time for another edition. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye.